ICS4U, here's our lesson on getting input from the user. And I'm going to have a document that goes along with this, but we're going to create this program together. So in IntelliJ, I'll go to File, New, Project. And I'll go to Next. And note, not from template, so just Next. And then for this project, call it capital U for user, no space, input. So user input, capital U for user, capital I for input, no spaces. Because remember, that's going to be our class name. And then we're going to click on Finish. This window. I'll use the arrow here to expand my project on the left-hand side. And right-click on SRC. Select New Java Class, and I'll call it the same as the name of my project. So user input, same spelling, it's case sensitive. So make sure that the capital U and capital I for user input are there. New class, press enter, and here's our public class. I am going to have to make that main method again. So public static void main string args. Okay, and then here's my curly braces to go around the main method, and you can pause that if you need to, but this is basically our template for everything. The only thing that changes is what I'm highlighting now, and that's the name of your class, which is also the name of your project. So good, and you can see everything I'm doing. So what we're going to do is import a library required for user input. So this is going to be before the main method. We're going to import the utility library for Java, and this is how you do it. So just inside of the at the very top, actually, we're going to say import. So the word import, and you'll see this word more often depending if we want to import different kinds of libraries. It's going to be java.util.star. This will import, the .star means everything inside of the util library. So we're going to get used to this dot notation. I'm going to try to make my font bigger. I'll be back in one sec. Okay, I made my font bigger. It may end up being too big depending on how much code we do, but for now you can see everything. I'm just going to bring that over a bit. There, it gives us more space. Okay, so we've imported the util library. Next thing we want to do is create a new scanner object. So Java is organized, everything in Java is an object. And so we want to create a new scanner object. There's something called the scanner class that allows us to create scanner objects. Every time you have a class, you can create, so here's how we do it. We're going to say capital S scanner, and this scanner class exists inside of the Java util library. I'm going to give my scanner the name of KeyYB. Just short form for keyboard, because this is going to get information from the keyboard from the user. And I'm going to say set it equal to, or create a new scanner object. So this is the basic or the standard format of creating a new object from a class. The class name is capitalized at the beginning. The object name is lowercase, and it's a word that you choose for your particular class. And the right side of the equal, so that left side of the equal sign, this that I'm highlighting right now, just declares, it says, we're going to make a new scanner object called KeyYB, an object from the scanner class called KeyYB. The right side of the equal sign is creating the new object or instantiating it. Instantiate, root word is instance or instant. So we're creating a new instance, creating a new instance of this object. And you're going to hear this language more and more, and I'm going to be using that language frequently. It might be the first or second time you're hearing it, so it's okay if it's a little confusing, but just know that the word scanner, it's capitalized, that's the object. My Visual Studio, IntelliJ my IntelliJ is always going to make my classes in white when I create them, and it's always going to make my objects that I create from the classes in dark gray. we have to have a bracket here where and in the bracket, we're going to tell it where this scanner object is reading from. And in this case, the keyboard is capital S, is for system.in. It's system.in, that's the keyboard. And then semicolon at the end. Remember, at the end of each statement in Java, same as in C and C++, and some other languages, you put a semicolon. That's the tough part of the program, probably the new part. Everything else, or most other things, there's a couple other things as well, but you're going to see some things in common as well. So we have that. We want to ask the user for their name. So we're going to use a command that we used in that we learned in a previous lesson, the print line statement. So we're going to say system. I just chose to put an empty line here just to make it, I thought it might look better. System.out.println. Actually, yeah, okay, print line. And we're going to say, what is your name? Question mark. And I'm going to put a space after it and a semicolon. Okay, next line, we're going to use our scanner object. So all we did in line 5 was we just set it up and created this new scanner object called keyYB. Now we're actually going to use it, and we're going to store it. We're going to store our value that the user gives us in a variable. We didn't create that variable yet, so let's create it. It's going to be a string. String name. All right, so now that we have a string called name, we're going to say name, set name equal to whatever the user wants to type in. So here's how we get the value from the user once we have our scanner set up. We're going to say the name of our scanner, keyYB, dot, and as soon as you type in dot, you'll notice IntelliJ or Replit shows you all of the different possibilities that are available to this object. So because it's a scanner type object, this keyYB object that we created comes from the scanner class. Here's all the things that scanner type objects can do. And the one that we want is we want next. Next will allow you to get a word from the user, whatever they type in, and when they press enter, that's what will be stored in the variable name, just like the input command in Python. All right, so last line of our program, this is the last one, system.out.println hello, and then if you want to concatenate two strings together or put them together, you can use the plus sign and then the word name, the variable name, that's a variable name. So we have a string literal called hello. I'm going to put a space, and then the plus sign will piece together the string literal hello with a space after it and whatever the value of the variable name is, and then semicolon. So we should be able to run this. Guys, I have a small spelling mistake that prevented me from running it. I have the word strings up here, and you'll notice it's red. That should have been my first clue. If it's red, it's usually an error. So when I clicked on this build thing here, if you don't have a run, if it doesn't let you run, it usually means there's an error. But to find out what the error is, you just click on that little green hammer, build project. And this gave me a really good indication. It said at the bottom there, error, Java cannot find the symbol class strings. And that's because it's supposed to be just string, not strings. So now I have that run button. I can run. I can also go up here, run. Just run it. You run user input, and my output should appear at the bottom. And it says, okay, what is your name? So I can click down here, and I can say Giovanni maybe, and then there, hello Giovanni. Okay. Now you probably noticed that the prompt for the user, it said, what is your name? And it might be nice for the user to type their name on the same line as what is your name. So for that, there's a variation of the print line statement. It's just the print statement. So where it says print line, what is your name? Get rid of ln. Just use print. And that will allow you, when you run it, to, it'll prompt the user on the same line. And then it says his name, okay? So that's it for, give me 1 sec. I'm going to check if we have anything else to cover. Okay, I'm going to draw your attention to the document where it's double input .java. You can follow along. I don't have it here, but maybe I can show it on my screen. So this is going to be user input. So I'll open up the document, and I'm going to switch so you can see what I'm doing. Browser. There we go. Okay, so double input Java. And I'd like you to try this one out too. It's the same as the program we just did, except, well, the class name is different. So the class name is different. We're still using java.util.star. We're still having a main method. Our scanner is still called keyYB. However, the value that we're getting is being, we're using this thing next double. You can see it in this kind of ugly orange color, but next double instead of next. So next double will allow it to get a double. And remember, a double is a decimal number. So that's why we have double num here. And we're storing the value of next double, whatever the user types in as a double. If they type in a string, it's going to give a syntax error. It has to be a number. A double could be a whole number. So a whole number will not make it crash, but typing in your name will. And then it's just going to say your number doubled is, and it doubles your number. It does number times 2. You could also do num plus num. That's the same as num times 2, right? Finally, just to, so pause it now and try out double input.java on your own to make sure that it works. At this point, if you want to copy and paste that, that's fine. And then I'm just going to go on now and say, here are all the different methods that are available to a scanner object. So our scanner class, we created an object from our scanner class called keyYB, and we used a method. We used next, and we used next double. Next was used for getting a string up to a space. We did that. We also did next double, but there's also next int to get an integer, and there's also next line. Next line will get a string all the way up to the new line character. That just is a fancy way of saying the enter key. So it'll also allow you to have spaces in your string, the next line. I'll just put that in brackets. Okay, and that's it for the lesson on user input.